How to make a relatable and engaging voice for dubbing videos in English. Life hack from Nikita. I bet a lot of you are trying to find that perfect voice that will connect with an American audience. So, how do you do it if you're not sure what Americans like? Here's my trick. I look for a popular YouTube channel that covers a topic I'm into. If the channel has tons of views, that means YouTube is promoting it. And if YouTube is promoting it, that means it's got a big audience. So, when I come across a channel that I vibe with and the voiceover is on point and the comments aren't hating on it, I get down to business. First, I download the audio from the video minus the background music. Then, I tweak the audio to make it shorter, around 1.52 minutes. Next, I use this £11 service to upload a voice sample. After I write out the script, I do the voiceover. And boom, we're done. If you find a really awesome voice, the voiceover will be lit. The key is to pick a quality source and make sure to check out the views. Hey, so my friend from Cali watched a bunch of videos with voiceovers and she said they sound legit, no accent, perfect pronunciation. If you can find some vids with professional voiceovers and a pure American accent, good luck with that. Anyways, me and Brian got hitched right after college following a 3-year relationship. We graduated the same year, but I'm actually 3 years older than June because I did a stint in the Peace Corps for 2 years before heading to college. Back in college, when we decided to tie the knot, both our families were cool with it. But my mother-in-law, Cheryl, was over the moon. She was stoked, probably because she actually liked me. Plus, my relationship with June, our engagement, planning the wedding, it was all like a dream come true for her. See, Cheryl never had that kind of love story herself. She got knocked up as a teen and had a tough time raising a kid on her own after her super religious parents cut her off. Years later, when she was 21, she married this old dude just to have some cash flow to support June. Cheryl never really had any real love, no big fancy proposal, or even a proper wedding because her man, Sam Clausen, had already been down that road and wanted to keep it low-key. Sam's a decent guy and looked after Cheryl and June, but let's be real, he's about as exciting as watching paint dry and about as romantic as a door handle. Personally, I always had a thing for Cheryl since she's only 11 years older than me. I don't see her as just your average lady. Mother-in-law. More like a cool young aunt. She's actually as pretty as her daughter, just a bit shorter and with green eyes instead of blue. She's not as flirty, but she always has a big smile on her face and she's super sweet. She's a bit shy and always dresses modestly, maybe it's just her style. June and I had been married for 4 years when Sam passed away from a heart attack. It wasn't a shock considering his lifestyle, but Cheryl was really affected by it. I took care of all of Sam's stuff for Cheryl, was there for her to cry on, and even included her in our lives along with June. She kept busy with charity work, but the one thing she refused to talk about or get help with was dating. There were plenty of guys, some even younger, who wanted to date her, but she wasn't interested. It wasn't long after my 6-year anniversary that I realized I was in a classic situation of an unhappy marriage. Man, my dumbass husband cheated on me with that sneaky hoe June. I may have been clueless at first, but as soon as I found out about June's cheating, I packed my bags and bounced to a cheap motel. I split up all our money right away. I think June did love me at one point, but she messed up big time by messing around with some dude she didn't even care about. When I called her out on it, she had the nerve to say I was overreacting. I know she spilled the beans to Cheryl, but I never saw her as a mother figure. I just called her Cheryl and asked her straight up. Hey, she stood up for me. I remember when I moved out of our place, Cheryl came to visit me at this motel. I was shocked to see her at my door, but she's always been so nice to me, so I let her in. We sat on the couch together and she held my hand. "I'm sorry, Brian," she said. "You know I didn't raise June to be like that." "I know, Cheryl," I said, giving her hand a squeeze. "You've always seemed like a good person, you've been through tough times and Junan's actions have nothing to do with you." "How are you holding up?" she asked with a tear in one eye. "I'm fine." It was a shock, but I've never been indecisive, so I took the bull by the horns and moved out. I'll probably be in pain for a long time, but I'll get through it. Is there a chance that you can forgive June and take her back? I don't understand how to do this, especially since she thinks I'm overreacting. It never occurs to her how much she offended me this time. There was a tear in my eye. We talked for an hour. So, not just about June, but other stuff too. When she got up to go, she gave me a hug that lasted longer than expected, being that she's still my mother-in-law. When she let go, she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I hope your split from June doesn't mean a split from me, Cheryl. There will always be a spot for you in my heart." I felt relieved when Cheryl left. By sticking up for her daughter, she basically gave me the okay to feel how I feel, didn't push me, and kept it real. Yo, my friend ain't like a mother-in-law, that's for sure. I was feeling good until I went to bed that night. Woke up sweating from a super messed up dream. Ended up filing for divorce because we just couldn't make it work. Packed my stuff and moved out of our place, told the landlord I was done with the rent. June was pissed. I didn't get why she was so mad. She knew me for 9 years and I never lied to her. June and her lawyer tried to. I tried different things like talking to a therapist to help me get through the rough first 3 months. I was kinda shocked at first, but I stuck to my beliefs. It would have been tougher if my 2 guy friends hadn't been there to support me, and Cheryl called me every week to check in. She didn't just ask how I was doing, she also shared stories from her charity work that inspired me. We also had lunch once a month, and she was always there for me. So, the high spirits paperwork was just chillin' for about 3 months, you know. Then at 1 o'clock on Monday, we had, this meeting with the judge. June was all, "I need counseling," but my lawyer shut that down real quick by showing pics of June and George grabbing lunch together, twice after we filed for divorce. And get this, George was the dude she was cheating on me with. She was crying and swearing up and down that they didn't do anything since I bounced, but the fact that she was still hanging out with him was a dead giveaway. The judge said no to her request for counseling without her consent. Everyone at the hearing knew this was pretty much the final straw for a marriage that's probably gonna end in 3 months. Cheryl called me at work on Tuesday, which was weird 'cause she never does that. But I was glad to hear from her. After some small talk, she got straight to the point. She told me that June called her yesterday after the hearing, all upset because it seems like the divorce is gonna happen in a few months. I asked her if she thought the same, and she said yes. Yeah, it's true. I'm pretty bummed about it, but I gotta keep it moving. My lawyer thinks we can sort out all the money stuff, so we should have a final decision in 3 months. I figured you might be feeling down, so how about I take you out for dinner on Friday? It wouldn't be too awkward for you to have dinner with your soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law, right? If you're not feeling it, I can wear a mask. I actually laughed at that. Nah, that sounds nice. And you don't have to wear a mask, I just don't think I'll be very. Hey, I'll take you out for some good food to cheer you up. I know you're not the best in the kitchen, so what time should I swing by on Friday? I couldn't help but laugh when you called yourself not a very good cook. That's a compliment. I'll come get you or meet you at a restaurant, no way you're paying. Don't even try to argue, I'm treating you. I'll pick you up around 7 p.m. Alright, so I gotta tell you about this crazy dream I had on Tuesday night. It was so messed up that I'm seriously considering seeing a shrink if these dreams keep happening. And then, to top it off, Cheryl showed up at my door on Friday at 7:02 p.m. And let me tell you, she was not dressed like her usual self. She had on this hot low-cut top, a short skirt, and some killer heels to match. She had some light makeup on, which is rare for her, but damn did it make her emerald green eyes pop. And her new hairstyle. It just made her even more gorgeous. She was looking fine as hell, let me tell you. 43. More like 30. Cheryl was giving me this worried look, wow, you're dressed so nicely, she said as my jaw finally started moving again. Thank you, I replied, clearly putting her at ease. The restaurant is pretty fancy and I didn't want to stick out like a sore thumb. Is that a new outfit? Yeah, I bought it and a few other things this week. I figured it was time to ditch the old, frumpy clothes I always wore. Cheryl ended up at a fancy restaurant with a dance floor, but unfortunately, she was driving there. Her skirt rode up to her thigh, and I was like, damn, I've never seen her thighs before. I had to stop myself from checking her out too much. The dinner was good, and Cheryl's positive energy was infectious, so I almost forgot about her messy divorce. But it was weird how much she was drinking. Normally she just sticks to 1 glass of wine when we go out, but tonight she bought a whole bottle for the 2 of us. Since I don't really drink, I only had 1 glass, and she ended up finishing the rest herself. After dinner, she convinced me to hit the dance floor. It was only the second time I've danced with her, and she always knows how to have a good time. June's wedding was lit, man. After Sam passed away, I took June out and she was turning down guys left and right who wanted to dance with her. She used to be a chill dancer, but now she's like a firecracker on the dance floor. We took a break after a few dances, and when she came back from the bathroom, I asked her how she got so good at dancing. I thought I was a decent dancer, but she was definitely better than me. Turns out, she's been taking dance lessons. Every week for almost a year, she would smile at me. I thought I was doing everything right. You were killing it on the dance floor and you definitely caught the eye of a lot of guys. I just grinned and said, "Oh, I didn't do that." She blushed at that moment, and then out of nowhere, this guy comes up and asks if he can dance with us. I was a bit surprised, realizing that Cheryl could easily be mistaken as my date. After I collected myself, I jokingly said, "It depends on my mother-in-law." The guy looked so embarrassed and Cheryl playfully slapped my hand. He said with a grin that he was just messing around, but since this is only our second date, I don't want to let him down, especially in case some attractive young person swoops in and steals him away. So, thank you for the invite, but I'll have to pass. However, if he breaks up with me, I'm sure I'll see you around here again. She chuckled, placing her left hand on mine. The guy smiled, then kissed her right hand and left. "You're a sly one," I told her. Just then, the waiter came to our table and set down what looked like a Bloody Mary in front of her and a soda. So, right in front of me, we didn't even order yet when she cuts me off and goes, "I already ordered it on the way back. So, let's just have a drink and then go back to the dance floor." I've never seen her drink hard stuff before, but she downed that Bloody Mary real quick. I finished my soda, and we went back to dancing. After 5 or 6 more dances, Cheryl leans in and says, "I think I've hit my limit, both with the booze and the dancing. Can you take me home? I really shouldn't drive, maybe Man, I have no idea what being drunk feels like because I've never been there, but I know for sure I wouldn't be able to drive a car without crashing into something." I grabbed Cheryl's car while she was in the bathroom again, then drove to her fancy little house in the trendy suburb nearby. Sam left her a ton of cash, like $8 million, which is not far from my place. I'll just grab a cab to get back home. Cheryl wouldn't stop talking in the car, kept saying something about chalking it up. She told me to have a good time and forget about her cheating daughter for a bit. When we got to her house, she was struggling with her garage keys, so I took them and opened the door for her. I helped her inside and she closed the garage door, then locked it up tight. She then pulled something out of her purse and gave it to me. It was her panties, which she said I could keep as a souvenir. I probably blushed, but that was nothing compared to what happened next after she handed me her girl. I was speechless when she dropped her skirt and unbuttoned her blouse, showing off her sexy body. I was blushing like crazy. I always thought she had a nice figure under those old clothes, but damn, she was stunning. Cheryl came over and started kissing me on the shoulders and neck, saying some stuff that I couldn't even hear. I can't forget the words she mumbled. "I've been horny for years and I need you to help me out." When Cheryl touched me down there, I lost control and took her to the bedroom. I knew I'd regret it in the morning, but I was too tired to walk away, especially when she asked me to stay the night. I've never woken up next to someone before. I was really feeling the love before, but had to put that on hold for a bit when she laid her head on my shoulder and I passed out. I usually don't remember dreams, but this time I had some steamy ones about getting it on with Cheryl. And then, boom, I woke up feeling, excited down there. That's when I realized it wasn't a dream. Thanks for the amazing night and morning. Cheryl looked me in the eye with her mesmerizing green eyes and said, "This is the moment of truth." We had a nice chat, mainly because I hadn't crossed the line with my mother-in-law yet. I knew it was only a matter of time before that bomb dropped. Finally, she suggested we shower together, followed by a quick peck. "Sounds tempting," I said. But just as I was about to get up, she grabbed me, tears in her eyes, and said, "I'm sorry for telling you I love you." So, we went on our first date and it seemed like it was also her first time showering with a guy. Cheryl was just wearing a short robe while making breakfast, singing and smiling the whole time. We had a good chat over breakfast, and she looked so cute and happy. Besides my wedding in June, that was probably the happiest I've ever been. After breakfast, I told her to get dressed while I did the dishes. She changed into some denim shorts. She was wearing a cute top and some casual flats, and I couldn't help but notice how youthful she looked and how curvy her hips were. She came over to my place, and once we got there, she asked if I could give her a tour of my apartment since she had never seen it before. I said yes, and she seemed a bit nervous at first, but I couldn't really tell. When we made it to the bedroom, it didn't take long because my place isn't that big. She let out a big sigh and put her hands on my chest, then straight up asked me, "Brian, can we have sex in your bed?" Shyly sliding her hands from my chest down, her vulnerability, sweetness, and amazing sex in her house turned me into a beast. Luckily, I managed to undress her without ripping anything. My shirt buttons and boxers were gone, but that was a small price to pay. Cheryl whimpered, gasped, squealed, and muttered as I stumbled back to bed and held her close. We laid side by side, smiling. "Did you enjoy it?" "Yes, of course. But I'm not sure I can handle it regularly. I'm so tired, I feel like my back is jelly." She laughed, so I gave her a back massage and she returned the favor. We must have been in bed for an hour when she asked if she was messing up my plans for the day. I guess my plans changed after that night. "Let's go to the movies tonight," she suggested with a big smile. Instead, I suggested she come over for dinner and we can watch a movie on my big screen TV. "Sounds good," I chuckled. "Hey, wanna come around 5:30? You can give me a hand chopping veggies." I tried cooking a roast after Cheryl left, but it turned out terrible. I had a moment of reflection. What the heck are you doing? This is your freaking mother-in-law. Imagine how much it would suck, not to mention the impact on her relationship with her daughter if June found out. Plus, she might already have feelings for you. Do you really want to hurt her, even though she's the best woman you've ever met? Just thinking about it made me cover my face with my hands. Man, I was all hands and muttering to myself about her, and then I couldn't stop dreaming about her. My mind was all over the place for like a good half hour until I finally said screw it and chucked the can onto the road. I decided I'm just gonna go with the flow this weekend and figure things out later. And you know what? It turned out to be a great weekend. We had a blast cooking dinner together on Saturday night, watched half a movie before getting it on the couch in her office, and then actually made love in her bed later that night. It was all good vibes, man. So, I was at her gym on Sunday morning and then we went hiking in the wilderness in the afternoon. Before we left, we hooked up in the woods and then in the back seat of my car, not caring how sweaty we were. We even had the energy to get it on again at her place on Sunday night. When I woke up on Monday, I felt so peaceful and relaxed. But then Cheryl wanted to talk before I went to work. She asked me to listen before I left. Answer or ask questions, she asked in a shy voice. This is really tough for me and I should just stick to my plan without interrupting, okay? I smiled and squeezed her hands after a long sigh. She started talking and didn't stop for 15 minutes, barely taking a breath. She was so tense and didn't trip over her words, but she expressed herself really clearly. Her first words were, "I loved you from the first time we met, you're the only man I've ever loved." After saying this, she went on to say that she knew she wanted a long-term relationship with me. She said it couldn't work because she was 11 years older than me. She was worried our relationship would be messed up, she wouldn't be able to give me kids, and she knew I couldn't love her as much as she loved me. But then she said she'd take whatever she could get from me and would always be there for me. I was shocked and couldn't say anything while she talked. After she was done, she told me to go to work and apologized for taking up so much time. I grabbed her and kissed her passionately, then looked into her amazing eyes and told her I needed some time to think. Hey, don't get mad if we don't hang out for a few weeks. I'm usually pretty sure of myself, but this weekend really messed with my head and I need to sort things out. She smiled, gave me a quick kiss, then picked me up and playfully pushed me out the door. I wasn't lying when I said my head was all over the place. For the next 2 weeks, whenever I wasn't busy with work or something else, all I could think about was Cheryl, June, sex, and anxiety. It didn't help that. Every night, I kept dreaming about Cheryl and how we hooked up, went on trips to cool places, and snuggled up together. In one weird dream, we even had a bunch of kids. I used to call Cheryl every day just to shoot the breeze for a few minutes, and she never got all clingy or serious during our chats. But one time, she casually mentioned that her daughter June asked if she was dating someone because she looked so happy. Cheryl didn't say anything, just stayed quiet. 2 weeks later, I asked Cheryl to hang out. So, I asked her out for dinner on Saturday night and she was down for it. I didn't really have a plan, I just wanted to see if we vibed outside of the bedroom. Long story short, I ended up crashing at her place and we did the deed twice. I could feel myself catching feelings for her, but with the 11-year age gap and the fact that she was still my ex's mom, I couldn't bring myself to fully commit. Surprisingly, our relationship survived the messy divorce. Cheryl even took June on a cruise for a week. When Cheryl got back, she told me that cruise really came through for June and she's not as mad at me anymore for kicking her to the curb. She seems to get that it was my fault. She even asked about your crush. After a big pause, Cheryl said yes. So, how's it going? Another awkward silence. I told her I was content being single and not looking to set her up with anyone soon. I'm just not sure about committing to something long-term. Man, I would have been stuck in this situation for way longer if it weren't for that crazy event. I realized I'm head over heels for Cheryl. We were hanging out at least 3 nights a week and talking on the phone every day. Don't get me wrong, I loved being married to June for over 5 years, but if I'm being real, my connection with Cheryl was way better. Yeah, despite her being younger, Cheryl was pretty inexperienced the first time we hooked up. But now, she's not only experienced, but also super affectionate and passionate. I was feeling all hyped up and ready to go when Cheryl hit me up at work on Friday Arvo. We were meant to catch a play and then have some fun in bed that night. But she called me up in a mess, asking me to come over ASAP. I managed to get to her place just after 3 p.m. When Cheryl opened the door, she was bawling her eyes out and ran straight into my arms. I let her cry on my shoulder for a bit and then took her to the couch in the living room. All right, spill it, what's going on? I asked, holding her hands. I swear, I didn't mean for this to happen, she sobbed, speaking in broken sentences like, I didn't think this could happen, please don't hate me, you can just go. I had no clue what she was on about. Finally, I calmed her down, held her hands tight, and looked her dead in the eye. So, she was like, hey, spill it. I'm lost here. Then she sniffled, took a deep breath, and dropped the bombshell, she's 7 weeks pregnant. I was shocked, 'cause we've talked about this before. She felt bad, 'cause she couldn't have kids and she knew I wanted M. She tried with Sam, but no luck. And some doc told her after she had June years ago that for some reason she might not be able to get pregnant again. Damn, I was so shocked that I couldn't say anything for a bit, but I know my eyes must have been wide open. Cheryl thought I was pissed off and was about to toss her overboard, so she started bawling so hard I thought she might need a doctor. I gotta go to work, sorry for taking so long to answer your call. I grabbed her and kissed her like there was no tomorrow, then I gazed into her beautiful eyes and told her I need some time to think. Don't be mad if we don't hang out for a couple weeks, I usually. Man, this weekend with Cheryl really messed with my head. I need to sort out my thoughts. She smiled, gave me a quick kiss, then playfully pushed me out the door. I wasn't joking when I said my mind was all over the place. For the next 2 weeks, whenever I wasn't busy with work or something else, I couldn't stop thinking about Cheryl, sex, and feeling anxious. To top it off, I kept dreaming about Cheryl and all the intimate moments we shared, traveling to cool places and cuddling up together. So, in this messed up dream, we had like a bunch of kids together until I saw Cheryl. I used to call her every day just to shoot the breeze for like 5 or 10 minutes. She never pushed me or got all serious during our chats, but one time she casually mentioned that her daughter June asked if she was dating anyone because I seemed really happy. Cheryl just stayed quiet. 2 weeks later, I asked Cheryl to dinner on Saturday night and she was totally down, even though I didn't really have a plan, I was just trying to see what would happen. We got along great outside of the bedroom. I ended up crashing at her place for the night and we ended up hooking up twice. I could feel myself really starting to fall for her, but with the 11-year age gap and the fact that she was still my ex-mother-in-law, I just couldn't find the courage to make it work. Our relationship managed to survive the divorce though. After that, Cheryl took June on a week-long cruise. When Cheryl got back, she said the cruise had helped June a lot and her anger towards me for kicking her to the curb had eased up quite a bit. She vanished completely, and June kinda got that it was all on me. She asked about your crush, and after a long-ass pause, Cheryl said yeah. So, what's the deal with that? Another awkward silence, and I told her I was cool being single, no plans to bring a dude around anytime soon. I was on the fence for who knows how long until shit hit the fan. I figured it out right then and there. I was seeing Cheryl 3 nights a week and we chatted on the phone every day. Honestly, even though I've been married to June for over 5 years, my connection with Cheryl was way better. Despite her being younger, Cheryl was a total newbie in the bedroom the first time we hooked up. But now she's not only experienced, but also super affectionate, open-minded, and full of energy. The bomb dropped when Cheryl called me at work early one day. Friday afternoon we had plans to go see a play and then have some fun playing hide and seek in bed that night. She was crying and begged me to come to her house ASAP. I managed to get there a little after 3 p.m. When Cheryl opened the door, it was clear she had been crying and she ran into my arms. I let her cry on my shoulder for a bit and then took her to the living room couch. Okay, spill it. What's going on? I said, holding her hands. I swear I didn't expect this to happen, she said. I was crying and then just blurted out stuff like I can't believe this, please don't be mad, you can go if you want. I had no clue what she was on about. Eventually, I calmed her down, held her hands, looked her in the eyes and said, stop, tell me what's going on. I was clueless. She sniffled, took a deep breath, and dropped the bomb she's 7 weeks pregnant. I was shocked because we had discussed this before and she said she couldn't get pregnant. I knew she wanted kids, so she tried with Sam, but it didn't work out. Before that, some doctor had told her after she had June years ago that for some reason she couldn't remember, she probably couldn't get pregnant again. I was so shocked that I didn't say anything for a bit, but I'm sure my eyes got big. Cheryl thought I was mad and was gonna kick her to the curb, so she started bawling so hard I thought she needed a doctor. My mind was spinning all of a sudden. I was head over heels for her like never before, I really wanted to have a kid with her. Age didn't matter to me. It was decision time and I knew what I had to do. I wiped away her tears and said, stop crying, Cheryl. After saying it like a million times, she finally stopped. I asked her, will you make me the happiest person ever and marry me? She didn't say yes right away, I had to ask her 2 more times before she said yes. I got it, she understood what I was saying, smiled, and yelled yes. Her tears stopped flowing and we hugged each other tightly. I told her how much I loved her, and she said she had been the happiest woman for the past 6 months, and even happier now. Suddenly, we heard the front door open and then Mom called out, are you here? We both looked like startled rabbits as we turned towards the noise and saw June walking into the living room. She was just as surprised as we were. June was the first to speak, asking, what are you doing here, Brian? I couldn't answer, and then Cheryl blurted out something that I'm sure she didn't mean to say at that moment. So, I'm 7 weeks pregnant with Brian's baby and we're getting hitched. June had a smirk on her face, probably thinking it was a prank at first. But when she saw how shocked I was and caught me getting cozy with Cheryl, her smile vanished and she zoned out. I quickly got up and caught her before she passed out. I scooped up June and laid her on the couch that Cheryl had just left. Cheryl sprang into action, grabbing some smelling salts and a cold compress. Before she started using them, she looked at me and said, I think you should bounce before she realizes what's going on. Then she asked with a grin, wanna hit up some jewelry stores tomorrow to find wedding rings? Hell yeah, I replied, giving her a passionate kiss. I passed my tickets for today's show to a buddy, just tell me what time to scoop you up tomorrow. Another kiss and I was out. Ended up giving the tickets to a friend and his wife, who were stoked to get them. And I even watched their kids as a test run. Sadly, we never did make it to the ring shopping. On Saturday, Cheryl gave me a ring around lunchtime and spilled the beans that June was crashing at her place for the night. She also mentioned that it would likely take them the whole weekend to sort everything out. I didn't bother arguing with her. I just told her I loved her and that we'd go shopping whenever we had the chance, hopefully on Monday. She chuckled before saying goodbye. I may not know all the details of Cheryl and June's conversation, but what I do know is that Cheryl adored June like a mother loves her grown-up kid, even with June's slip-up with George. Cheryl and I have been a team for a long time before I even knew them. Cheryl was upfront with June about her feelings for me, making sure there was no funny business until she knew my marriage was done. Cheryl knew it would be tough for June, but she still wanted her in her life. Props to June for being sad but supportive, knowing her mom's happiness was important. I've had real love before and was happy to have a younger sister or brother even though June and I weren't planning to be friends in the future. I made it clear to her that I didn't hold any grudges, that I would always treat her with respect, and that I didn't do anything to harm her. I just couldn't help but fall in love with her, Cheryl. The only issue we had, if you can even call it that, was that Cheryl's libido was already high, and pregnancy only made it worse. She said she needed to make up for 2 decades without real sex, that's how she put it, and who knows. Should I be mad that we kept doing this consistently until we were 8 months and 1 week pregnant, when we had to pause until 2 months after our adorable little girl Alicia was born? Cheryl and I got married in a simple ceremony 2 months before Alicia was born. We showed June a lot of respect by making her a bridesmaid, even though I had already forgiven her. However, my attitude towards George, her lover who Cheryl claimed she never slept with again after I filed for divorce, was different. I started following him electronically and even every now and then, I hired a PI to dig up dirt on my ex when I found out he was tying the knot. I sent his bride-to-be a whole file on his affair with June while we were still married, and how it wrecked our relationship. It was satisfying to see that she dumped George within a week of getting my letter, and he skipped town soon after. After our daughter Alicia was born, we thought it would be nice for her to have a brother or sister. But we didn't want another kid right away, especially not with Cheryl. Ever since Sam left Cheryl a ton of cash, we decided to take one of her eggs and mix it with my swimmers in a lab. We then got a surrogate mama to carry the baby. When Alicia was just 15 months old, the surrogate popped out our second kiddo, a cute little boy named Aaron. Now our 2 little ones are 5 and 6 years old. I'm totally head over heels for Cheryl, our bond is stronger than ever. I never thought a relationship could be this amazing, and our sex life is still on fire. Oh, and by the way, June ended up marrying a dude that Cheryl and I know. So, she's gonna have a baby girl next month. I was thinking about how her daughter will get along with our kids, but I don't even know. All I know is that Cheryl will adore her granddaughter just like she loves our kids. Cheryl has so much love to give, man. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so your second half doesn't play you. And stay tuned for the next story, cause this one ain't nothing compared to what's coming next. And if you're under 18, just forget about it. Yo, just keep your ears open for the next one, and then the one after that, and then the next one after that.